Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and in this video I'm going to cover the amazing health benefits of gravel root. Now, gravel root is easily confused with another plant called Joe Pye weed. So before I go into all of the health benefits and all the nuances and beautiful things about gravel root, I'm going to share some of the differences between these two plants because they're very easily confused, mostly by unseasoned either herbalists or unseasoned gardeners. So if you have a beautiful garden and you're attracted to this beautiful plant because it's showy and it can get very tall, then you might have gravel root or you might have Joe Pye weed. So there are some differences that are important to know because they both contain medicinal properties, but they're very different as well. Now, gravel root has flowers that look very similar to Joe Pye weed, but they're white to light pink. And gravel root only grows between 2 and 5 feet tall. So I've never seen a gravel root that's taller. I've never seen one that's taller than about 4 feet, but apparently it can grow up to 5 feet tall. And in comparison, Joe Pye weed can grow up to 7 feet tall. And it usually goes anywhere from 5 to 7. So if you got a big tall plant, or you see a big tall plant that you'd think might be gravel root because they look so similar with the flowers and everything, and it's 7 feet tall or even 6 feet tall, you might be looking at something completely different. Now, Joe Pye weed also has light pink to purple, light purple flowers. So a gravel root, I've never seen or heard of a gravel root that has purple flowers. So that is one really easy way to tell the difference between these two plants. Now, both plants are native to North America, Eastern and Central North America, and it's very, very easy to cultivate. And they both love gravelly soil. They don't like disturbed soil. They do like to establish. It takes them a while, but they're pretty easy to identify. Now, one of the best things about both of these plants, and especially Joe Pye weed, even though we're not going to focus mostly on that one, is that they are massive pollinators. In fact, if you love butterflies in your yard and you're a gardener, you probably already have a Joe Pye weed plant. You might have gravel root, even though I find that most of the time, people who have herb gardens and they're interested in making medicine or herbal tinctures and poultices and teas out of plants in their yard, for the most part, people will gravitate toward the big showy Joe Pye weed. But I would say look into possibly cultivating, because you can cultivate it almost everywhere in the United States now and many other places, Canada. It goes dormant, it comes back every spring. And you can cultivate a powerful plant that has a lot of wonderful medicinal properties. In fact, the main difference medicinally is that gravel root is really well known for what it does for the kidneys and the urinary tract section of the human body. It's also known as a really powerful diuretic. So this is something that herbalists, the colonialists, when they came over to America, discovered that the Native Americans were using, and they were boiling it into a tea, putting it into a tincture, and using it rarely, but as a poultice sometimes. Now, the part of the plant that you use on both of these is the root. And it, like I said, it loves gravelly soil, which is one of the ways it got its name, but it also can help move gravelly stones or whatever out of the kidneys. That is gravel root. Now, Joe Pye weed is really well known for what it does for fevers. And that's very, very different than something that affects the urinary tract system, okay? So that is one of the most beautiful things about the nuances of Mother Nature. In fact, even as we started, writing down all of the beautiful medicinal properties of plants in all the old texts of herbalism and people who were discovering plants, even the medical industry focused on plants and plant medicine before our modern era got a little bit hijacked by traditional medicine, or what I like to call alternative medicine, but it's now really coming back. So this is something that is really fascinating to learn about. Now, the botanical names of these two plants are also extremely similar, and I'll put them below this video. But gravel root is known as Eupatorium, purpureum. And then Joe Pye weed is known as Eutrochium, purpureum. They're different even though they look similar. So they look similar. The botanical names are almost exactly alike. So this is another way that these plants can be confused. So it really depends on what you're after. If you're after just a big showy garden plant that attracts a ton of pollinators and can help, pollinate all of your fruits and vegetables and all of the things in your yard. This is also something to be aware of, that this can be a little bit invasive. The flowers they turn dry, and there are millions of little seeds that will blow not only all over your yard, but they will blow into your neighborhood. So this is something to kind of keep aware of. If you have a big piece of property, either one of these plants are beautiful and amazing to have as part of your yard, because they will attract tons and tons of pollinators, and especially butterflies. So if you love butterflies and having them around your yard, this is a late bloomer. Both of these plants are late bloomers. So they're a beautiful part of your yard. Now, some of the health benefits of gravel root, and this is something that I'm fairly familiar with because it's in our prostata. And this is one of my dad's original formulas. It has saw palmetto, gravel root. It's got some really beautiful herbs that support and nourish and protect the urinary tract section of the body, and also specifically the male prostate. Super, super important. And gravel root is an important piece of that. And there are a few cautions that I'll tell you about that, because one of the common names of gravel root is pukeweed. So that has to tell you that over the centuries that it's been used, this is where wisdom and ancient knowledge comes in, because humans have always experimented with, this is growing here. Maybe we boil this into a tea. Maybe we make this into a poultice. We go through these different experiments and we see what works and what it does. And this is how we've gathered all of this wisdom. Things were written down. There's so much beautiful history to Mother Nature and what humans have discovered over centuries. And my biggest state of gratitude right now, where we are in 2025, is that this knowledge is not just whispering back. This knowledge is flowing back so beautifully. And I think that humanity is so ready for this knowledge to come back to help nourish us and take us into a high timeline of human ascension, higher consciousness. And I will tell you, Mother Nature is a huge piece of this. It's almost the connector piece that takes us back to where we're supposed to be. Okay, so please know that the information I share with you is not meant to be medical advice. I'm going to go over the health benefits of this, but this is just for entertainment and for your own education. Okay, so I wrote down some things that I don't want to forget to tell you, so I'm going to read through this. Gravel root is believed to aid in dissolving and eliminating kidney stones. It's recommended for urinary tract discomfort and retention. It's really well known as a diuretic. It can help clear out excess fluid, so it gets those kidneys and urinary tract system really functioning the way they're supposed to. And this is really a case where a little bit is powerful and you don't need a lot. As modern humans, we think that if a little bit does the job, that a lot is even better. And that is not always the case. There are nuances, there's energies. In fact, there's so many beautiful spiritual cleansing properties that gravel root has been known and revered for in traditional Native American ceremonies. And even they feel like if it can cleanse the inside, there's also energetic clearing that happens externally as well. I mean, there are really beautiful things to plants that if we start to recognize that and give them the respect that is due to them, then what more could we ask for than vibrant health? And the plants, that's what they give us, okay? What I wrote here is ancient texts often stressed monitoring urine output and clarity after treatment. So the thing is if you were to really look like what I just said, all the nuances that happen, ancient texts often stressed monitoring urine output. So when you take something like gravel root, say you grow your own gravel root, You harvest it, you learn how to do that, you learn how to make it into a tincture, or you know, learn how to make it into a tea, which is those are the two most common ways to use gravel root. And they did this during the Native American times too. Like when it was colonial and tribal, this is how they did it. They put it into a tea or they put it into a tincture. And then what you do is you monitor. And this is always the way healing has happened through all the centuries of all humans. We've always monitored what's happened. Instead of, if you think about our modern world and how fast we take something to cover up a symptom, we don't really look at what our body is doing and asking for. A symptom presents itself, we cover it up with a pharmaceutical or an over-the-counter something, and then we go about our day. We're not really addressing what's happening, and we might not really monitor what we're feeling, and sometimes we might. But if you think about the way that traditional, natural, herbal medicine has been used for all of human history, except for the very short period of modern history we're in right now, what they do is they monitor what's happening. What happens when you take this? What's happened when you take that? And when you increase it this much, what happens? And this has all been done for us. We can simply start doing our own research, and we can start absorbing this information, tuning in, and then making our own notes and using this beautifully and carefully in our own lives with ourselves and our families. You know, this is one of my favorite things about the rise again of herbal medicine. The diuretic effects of gravel root: increased urination, helping flush excess water and toxins from the body. I love that. It's often prescribed for edema or dropsy. And dropsy is basically retention of fluid. And that's just kind of an old-fashioned name. Finds its way back into herbal medicine sometimes. Now, gravel root is also traditionally and for a long time been paired with other plants like juniper berries and corn silk to help the urinary tract and the kidneys, which is really common. It's got anti-inflammatory and soothing properties. So it's used to calm mild urinary tract irritation. And it was noted by early herbalists for reducing internal heat or swelling. So it's got some beautiful anti-inflammatory properties for that particular section of the body. So it's very cool how that works. It also has beautiful blood and circulation support. So some herbalists described gravel root as strengthening the blood and improving vitality. This concept ties into humoral medicine, where the plant's diuretic effects was seen as balancing the internal fluids. So really think about that. That is it. To me, it's Mother Nature gives us these clues. And if we were just to simply pay attention, it would be really amazing what we would learn in a very short period of time. I don't think the learning curve with a lot of these things has to be big. I think it can be concentrated and notes written and absorbed however you absorb it best. You know, I can be visual. Like, I remember so many things that still are cemented in my brain from growing up with a dad who was a botanist. And even since then, if I go experience something, only one time have I ever experienced and seen someone dig out a gravel root plant. And this plant has these gnarly, hard to dig out roots. And of course, that is the part of the plant you use, is the root. And one of the things about roots when you harvest them is you want to wait until the top of the plant has already gone dormant, gone to seed. Then all of the focus and all the medicinal properties can focus in the root. And this is really, really a common time to harvest medicinal roots, is in the fall or the late fall. In fact, October seems to be, from everything I remember my dad telling me, that tends to be the best time to harvest a gravel root. But I'm telling you, this is not for the faint-hearted herbalist who wants to make medicine out of gravel root, because it's tough to dig out. It is tough to clean up and process. And it's a labor of love if you make yourself a tincture or tea out of gravel root, a true labor of love. So all that being said, I would love to know what your experience is with the beautiful gravel root. And also, you know what? We talked about Joe Pyeweed. I would love to know if you grow this in your yard. I know so many people who love this plant because it is so showy and it is such a pollinator. So I hope you enjoyed the information in this video. I love gravel roots so much. It's in my book, Be Your Own Shaman, and it's in my dad's original book as well. It is one of those powerhouse plants that if you are looking to have your own herbal apothecary, this is a plant to definitely look into. So thanks for tuning in today, guys, and we will see you in the next one.